I am Danielle. I'm a teacher here now, kind of new to it. But just want to let you know that restrooms right there if you need them. But other than that, if you have any questions or need anything while you're here, let me know. But I'll leave it to Stephanie to introduce everyone.
Apologize for our fellow educators not to see the possibility of connecting.
We're gonna record this and we're gonna have them post it to the web so that they can watch it. The ones that aren't here.
Okay.
Hello everybody, good morning. Thank you for attending this timeline presentation, Education in Times of COVID-19. Photo Voice has a strategy for the consolidation of school guarding. I'd like to introduce to you your presenter, Valesca do Vale. Valesca is graduated of certain Illinois University EDUCÁO, Environmental Science Master program and the team programs manager at the ABRIL Planetarium. She's joined by her co-presenter, Hermon Silva, graduating in student and science teacher with the University of Campinas, and Roseli as an associate professor at the University of São Paulo. Not present today is co-author Sharon, a professor in the Environmental Science program at SUU. Their presentation today covers how SUU and the University of Campinas in São Paulo, Brazil, were able to use community participatory research to collaborate on environment education during the COVID-19 pandemic. I hope you all enjoyed this event. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for being here with us. So, Stephanie just introduced myself. I did not know that we're gonna have that introduction. So, I am Valesca, and I work at the ABRIL Planetary as a team programs manager. And as she mentioned, I got my master's degree at the SIUE in environmental science with the emphasis on environmental education, and my bachelor's degree at the University of São Paulo. And this is my colleague Hermon. So I would like a round of applause for him because he came all the way from Brazil to be here with us today.
You flew in all the way from São Paulo to come into O'Hare and then
Yes.
wow.
Yes.
Well, thank you for I hope you're gonna stay here and not return.
He's staying here actually only for a few days. He's returning on Tuesday.
Well, I hope you get to see the ABRIL Planetarium.
Yeah, I'm taking him there on Monday.
Good.
Yes, he needs to do that. He came all the way from Brazil to here. So, I want you to have a look at this picture and guess, like, who do you think it looks like in that picture? Can you get out that
Oh
way?
boy. Looks like two cartoon characters.
It's a health review. It's
Yes.
It's you.
My hair has grown, but he did not have the hair there. He has more hair than that. But we asked the students in the middle of our program to draw environment educators. That was actually an assignment from one of my courses for my master's degree, and that's what they come up with. And that was really nice to see. They thought they're like superheroes. I don't know if you can see all the details they put down.
Yeah.
I don't think we are, but we try our best to educate them about the environment. And it was so nice to see the pictures they come up with. I mean, how they draw, not the pictures. So we are talking about this partnership between Brazil and the US. So everything started with this program founded by NIH that's called Environmental Health Investigators, building STEM interested to promote careers in the health. So when I moved from Brazil to the US to start my master's degree, the pandemic hit. And that was so hard because to find students to educate them about STEM education was a challenge. So that I started thinking, what can I do? Because I wanted to have that interaction with the students and I want to collect data. What can I do about that? And for 1 year, I was trying to figure that out. And then I just thought about reaching out to my Brazilian colleagues. Because actually the pandemic gave us an opportunity to be able to have a program like online. So the virtual learning, that was a way to connect to Brazilians and Americans, for example. And because of this program, so Irmão and I went to the same university, University of São Paulo. We have the same bachelor's degree. I actually did not know him, but we have our advisor in common. And she said, well, Irmão is a science teacher. He would have students for you to work with him in this project. And he already had a community garden. And I was like, yeah, sure, let's try that together. So with this program, this project, we had a photo voice activity. So I could not do everything from this program in Brazil because of funding, and then being virtual also was not like a possibility to do all the activities. But the photo voice part of this program, I could do, and I'm going to explain what photo voice is. So photo voice is a process by which people can identify, represent, and enhance their community through a specific photographic technique. So the students go outside, look at their surroundings, and take pictures of their environment, what they want to change. It can be something positive or something negative. With the program from SAE, we are working with light pollution. Not light pollution. Light pollution, I work at the Adler. So I keep saying light pollution. Yeah. We are working with pollution, not light pollution, soil pollution, water pollution, and the air pollution. And then that's what the students did. They went outside and explored to raise their voice with their pictures, to say what they are seeing in their communities. So then Photo Voice has 3 main goals: to enable people to record and reflect their community strengths and concerns, to promote the critical dialogue and knowledge about important issues, to large and small group discussion of the photographs, and to reach policymakers. So it's not just like seeing the problem, but also find a solution for that problem. And as I mentioned, we could do the virtual learning, and the students could have this exchange program in a way to be able, they're able to speak English with, when we had the final presentation, they practice. Of course, not all of them were able to speak English, but just the fact that they knew that their work was going to be recognized in another country was really important for them. So this is the Photo Voice curriculum. Every time we have a curriculum, we know we need to adapt that curriculum because the context, even of Southern Illinois and Chicago, that's completely different. So imagine like from the US to Brazil, we need to change a lot. So that's what we did. First of all, when you have a photo voice project, you needed to engage the students to understand, to direct them, okay, what you should look at, so what's pollution, and access their knowledge, to understand what they know about pollution, what else they need to know to be able to advocate for themselves. And then after we told them about the pollution, after like we, for success, as I mentioned, then we had some sessions to teach them about the different types of pollution. We introduced photo voicing. And in this process, since the first sessions, they're already taking pictures. So that was like a puzzle. They took pictures, and then they came like with their ideas together until they were able to have a narrative and present with different forms of art, how they wanted to present. So photo voice, I always remember to be creative, flexible, and organized. So with the Brazilian science curriculum, it's like the national science standards. We had like these 2 main goals: to identify the effects resulting from human action on the environmental balance related to vegetation with the water cycle, the conservation of soils, water courses, and atmospheric air quality. So thinking about the air pollution, soil pollution, and water pollution, and identify and describe environmental problems that occur around the school and the residents. So for the students to have a look, okay, what environmental problems we have here and how they're going to be different from other parts of the world. So I give examples of activities that I developed with the students from the US, from Southern Illinois, to these students from Brazil, because they're like, oh, the US is perfect, there is no problem. I was like, no, you're wrong, there are problems there too. So let's compare what the differences are here. And as the theme of this conference, building connections, that's what we did. So first, Irmão and I built a connection together. Then he also invited the other teachers to go to the sessions and see how they could contribute. The geography, art, and Portuguese teachers were the ones that engaged the most with us. Unfortunately, the English teacher did not, and we wish like the English teacher was together too. But then that was really important to have the geography teacher, because when you talk about environment education, you need to understand the environment we live in. And she taught the students about population growth and the development of the city of São Paulo, which is one of the biggest in the world. So it's really important to understand how we have like, I love this picture because, can you tell me what you see in this picture? We're gonna work with this picture later, but what do you see here?
You see dense living quarters, probably not the most economically sound area, or whether it's the slums of Rio or, you know, and that, and you got a church with open space, and then you got luxury high-rise apartments over there, where the people that can, thank goodness, I can look down on that.
Well, it's separated by a wall,
right?
you know, there's a wall
Where I
there.
came from is probably electrified.
Yeah. Yeah.
Glass shards on top so nobody can climb over.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see the inequality, like, is so strong when you look like how each apartment has a pool, and then look at the difference. These other people don't have like
A yard.
much. They don't have a yard.
Right. There's like no green and a bunch
No
of
green.
And a tennis court.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is, I mean,
But again, having worked with people in that type of situation, they're very happy.
that's true.
And they got the matriarch, the grandmother, and so on. Life is simple. There's a simple rhythm. They're not trying to compete to get enough rent money to pay for the, you know, condo.
That's
you,
true.
you know, over there. So again, it's little things that I learned in the Peace Corps that you can, you know, enable the people to have a little more healthy life in that situation.
That's
and so on. And then begin to, they do have a school, begin to introduce, you know, creating some biodiversity on the school site and so on. So,
Yes.
yeah.
That's true. And that's very interesting what you're saying, because with your students, so they'll be mostly from the other part, right? Like they don't have like all that money. And then we had the photo contest, a photograph contest, and I was like, I want to give them something. Then I reached out to Irmão and was like, what can you give them? And he was like, don't worry, like a chocolate bar will be enough. And we know if you're students in the US, like from the students, I mean, I know not all the programs, but the students I was working with in the US, they go to a drone as a prize. So I was like, a drone and a chocolate bar, that like really hit me, because they worked so hard. I was like, I want to give them, I don't know, some money they could use towards education, like to take a course or something, and you're not funded because NIH funded the project in the US. But everything we did in Brazil, we had no money for that. So everything we did, like, that was like my time I put on that, his time, nobody paid us for that. But we believe in that education. But if you see how the students were happy with a chocolate bar, he was telling me when he goes to here that they did not eat the chocolate bar, because for them was that prize. They want to keep that for themselves forever. And he was like, you're not gonna eat that? And they're like, no, I wanna keep that to show like I go to the photograph contest. So I think it's really important like to think about that. Then we also had the guest speakers. So if we're talking about photo voice, we need to have a photographer. And the cool part was the photographer was a student he was a former student from this high school. Then we had scientists coming to talk to them, and you had an ambassador from United Nations. And she was from the same context that your students were, so they could relate and see like, wow, that's so cool to have somebody in the United Nations that has power and can speak up for our communities. So they can reflect on that and see what they can do, what difference they can do. It doesn't matter where they come from. And the Portuguese and the art teachers were really important to support the narrative process and how they were going to present their showcase. These are the pictures from, I'm not gonna talk about the emotions because we're doing, so actually my thesis was about the emotions these students felt, like emotions in science education. And I don't know if you have heard about Paula C, who is a really important educator, and that's what it was based on. So you can have an idea how this stream floods all the time, so they have a lot of problems, and when it happens, they cannot go to school. And that's what they want to show, and what really impacted them was the garbage. They're like, why do we have all this garbage in our community? And that's why the garbage comes to the stream and it flows. So now I would like you to practice photo voice. I'm going to tell you how we work with the students. We had these questions that we have, that's called the show it method. And with these questions, they did not have to follow them. I translated them from English to Portuguese, of course. But I just have the questions to guide them, how they're gonna write their narratives. But you don't need to force students, you need to respond to all the sessions, all the sections here. So what I'd like you to do, I forgot to bring paper. I don't know if we have it in here.
Yeah.
I would like you to look at this picture and practice this exercise. So what do you see here? What is really happening here? How does this relate to your life? And I know it's really different from our environment here, but thinking about in a global perspective about sustainability, how does it impact our life? Or we can think about how does this relate to human life? Not exactly to our personal life if we cannot make that connection. Then why does this condition exist? And what can we do about it? Thank you.
These are little tabs we give the kids, so thank you. Or Randall, I'll get you a pencil too. And you have something to write on? You're
Yes,
good?
yes.
All right. Anybody else? You good? You need one?
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah,
How'd you come up with the showed method
So the
and
show-
having each verb reflect on that? See is a verb, happening, hour is,
Like this, this
And
word.
did you steal that from a professor at SIU or?
No, that's actually from these researchers.
Oh,
Wayne
okay.
and the Burrs,
Oh,
I
okay.
did not come up with it, it's
Oh.
already like a method that's
Oh.
published.
Now you went SIUE.
SIUE.
Did you live on the campus in the dispersed housing there, or? Yeah, 'cause my daughter got her, my master's degree in market research at SIUE.
Oh, that's
So I'm
cool.
very familiar.
Yeah, I live nearby, like 7
Off
minutes away
campus.
from campus. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yes,
okay.
that's, when did she graduate?
Oh, she's about 12 years ago.
Okay,
Where do you live in Chicago? I mean, you work at the shed, I mean, not the shed, but.
the other planet.
Adler,
Mhm.
yeah.
I live in Logan
Oh,
Square.
look, it's fine.
Mhm.
Okay. I live up in Edgebrook, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
trying to think of, and then he's gonna be staying with you during this.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
take me. That's right.
So it'd be fun to meet up with you on Monday. Are you gonna be down at the Adler, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's I'd like to, I'll let you continue and then I'll talk more. Yeah, yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Ele falou que quer encontrar com você na segunda.
So you want us to go out and take some pictures, or?
I just want you to look at this picture and
Okay.
and think how to respond to these questions.
Showed method. That was developed in 73. Okay, so you want us to make notes of what do we see here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to make notes. So we kind of discussed that,
Yeah.
like what you see and what's happening in this picture.
And the building in the middle, is that a school or a church or
I don't
what?
think that's a building, that's a pool with a sidewalk
Oh,
around
it's
it.
a pool with a sidewalk.
Yeah. I
You
think so.
got better eyes than I do, 'cause
Yeah.
I see the blue.
Where are you talking?
I
The
see
top part?
the top part. I see the blue
Oh, I
as the top of a building.
I think it's a big pool. Am
Oh,
I
it's
right?
a pool.
Yes,
Yeah,
Large
okay.
pool.
that's right.
Even though they've all got pools.
They all have pools on their balconies, you see that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, that's why I was wondering whether individual skinny dipping at night. I can understand that on a hot night. Okay, honey, let's go. We gotta take a dip afterward. Okay, so what's happening with here? Diversity. Have not.
My last one. Sorry.
I think one more minute, then we can. Or is everybody done? Sure. Okay, so we can just share what the. Can somebody volunteer to share what do you see here?
I started off by saying rich versus poor.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good.
And go ahead.
I would say also like, you know, again, the green spaces versus the non-green spaces.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the green spaces aren't really being used in a very environmentally friendly manner.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
One of my first thoughts was this side of the picture was here first,
Yes.
meaning that this side
Destroyed something.
probably pushed out a whole lot of people who lived
Right.
there. So
Gentrification.
gentrification in order to build that.
That was actually the opposite, which is interesting.
really?
Like
It was the
how
what?
that was the opposite. That what happened.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So what happened? Everything was green. That was like the rich space.
Oh.
But then, because of the social conditions, these people need to find a place to live. So they occupied that space.
Oh.
They found that space, and then they built their houses. They didn't have much to build their houses, so that's what they did. That's like what we call favelas.
It's like the opposite of Chicago.
Yeah.
Yes.
what's happening in most of Chicago.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah,
about.
that makes sense why you thought that way.
Right.
Right.
That was what we see in Chicago.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go to how does this relate to our lives?
Well, I thought that's what was happening in Chicago
Right.
too. That's why I related it to what we see.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think regardless of which way it went, you always see big wealth disparities, and sometimes it's more mixed than like, you know, walled off, but,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there are big wealth disparities everywhere, and,
That's true.
and the people who have the money, they can afford the green spaces, and the people who don't, can't,
Mm-hmm.
and so the people who are wealthy kind of get benefits that other people don't, unfortunately.
That's true. Why does this condition exist?
Overpopulation. For one.
Overpopulation. Mhm. That's true.
Not equality in education.
Definitely, I agree.
Uneven wealth distribution,
Yeah.
which you mentioned. Yeah.
That's true. And what can we do about it? That's the hardest
That's
part.
the
Like, what
hardest
can
part.
we do to change it?
Well, you can only start by working with the people you can work and increase their knowledge and let them know that they've got feelings, and if they share their feelings with others, they can, you know, make a difference. And how
That's
they
true.
make that difference based on education, because of who to communicate your concerns with and so on like that. So,
Mhm.
you know, hopefully that there's a, you know, way up and out and so on like that, but you're not gonna change overnight generations after generations of life like that.
That's true. Yeah, I think environment, education is the key.
Yeah.
We needed to teach these communities to raise their voices because they don't know the difference. They think like that's the normal. And the students used to think that, yeah, this environment is normal. And then they're like, oh, it's so dirty. And they start observing it. So yeah, education is the key for me, how we can change that. And of course, it's not over time.
Well, the one thing that when I was working with some Puerto Rico, you know, slum type of communities and so on, you always manage to see some type of TV antenna, you know, tilted, bent and so on, out of each one, so that they did have a type of, you know, communication. They did have,
Oh, I see.
they did have that, and sometimes they'd be lulled into, you know, some alcohol and smoking stuff, and,
Yes.
you know, at the TV, and it's just a hopeless, repetitive cycle. And
That's
so,
true.
and the only thing you can do is break out with education. So,
I agree.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with that.
yeah.
So, with the show and method, I don't know, have you heard about photo voice before?
Well,
When I read your.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that.
well, I've used it, through COVID, through an international organization
That's
for high school students and caretakers in the environment. We had it, just, photo journaling, and, the idea was to, it was a rainbow walk. And then on the rainbow walk, you were to take different pictures of different colored objects. And then you had to identify whether the object was sustainable or renewable or non-sustainable or non-renewable. And then, you know, share it globally through our Zoom Worldwide, you know, network, which I'd like to talk to you more about.
Yeah, I want to learn more about it. That's amazing.
So that's I've never seen this particular rendition of it, so.
Yeah, that was actually new to me when I went to Eeai and I learned about this program. I went to Eeai with foreign exchange program. When I went to SAUE, and with this program that was funded by NIH, that's how I learned. And I think that's fascinating how you can empower kids through photo voice. So this is an example. So first, they guide their thoughts, what I see in this picture, and then they write a narrative. And I found this picture very interesting, very said, but that was very interesting that this student could like picture, like could saw that picture and was like, well, that's what I want to talk about. And in Brazil, we see a lot of fire and garbage. Like people end up doing that, and it's a lack of education, unfortunately. This photo was taken near the stream that I told you before I showed that picture of the stream, which is close to the school where I study. It is unbelievable how people don't realize this is harmful for their own health. The smoke from the fire is bad to people's health. It can cause shortness of breath and fainting. And it seems that people don't care about that. We need to open our eyes before it's too late. And that was really powerful. How like they could come up with their narratives and then present that. So now we're gonna get to the fun part, to the solutions. In Brazil, the students do not get stipends. We actually like the projects we have are usually not funded. It's really hard to get funding. And then they think about, well, if I go to an after-school program, they're going to increase my grades. That's what they do. And the Armin's a science teacher, and the students were like, okay, I'm going to go to your program, and then you are going to increase my grades. And he was like, no, that's not the point of this program. I want you to learn. And the students just switched that off. Like, okay, I'm with photo voice and the community garden. That was really important for them to understand that they were there to be educated, to raise their voices. So we started with 15 8th grade students, and today we really have to say, Irmão has 2,500 students in the community garden in that day school. And here you can see, like, we started virtual in the program, and now they can be back in person. And because the kids heard about the other students, about this partnership, they want to get involved and they want to learn more about the environment. And the Photo Voice project also encouraged, of course, with 2,500 students, we cannot say he does all by himself. He needs other teachers involved. That's so many students. So other teachers support the project right now. So that's why this partnership was important for other teachers to learn. Okay, we need to get engaged and do something together. You gonna say something? Oh, you're gonna go. And then they also had a vertical garden from another teacher with plastic bottles. That also came up from Photo Voice. Okay, now we're gonna do an activity with Irmão. Can you come closer?
Yeah.
Sure. Because well, you see the boxes up there.
Okay, my English no very good.
It's okay.
Please traduction.
Yeah, I can
I
help.
speak em português e traduction. Bom, na nossa escola nós temos um problema que foi despertado a sensibilização através do fotovoz.
Deixa eu traduzir já. So in the school with like the Photo Voice, the students learned about all the garbage in their communities, and that's what the community garden did, like how the Photo Voice and community garden go together, and he's going to show the solution they came up with.
Okay. E com a parceria com Fotovoice, os alunos desenvolveram algumas emoções, daqui a pouco a gente vai propor para vocês. E como vocês viram, a habilidade no currículo paulista, ela propõe soluções em problemas.
So the students had a lot of emotions in this project, as we can imagine, like looking at their communities. And we do not only talk about, like as our curriculum say, we cannot just talk about the environmental problems, but we need to create solutions, what we can do about it.
Ok. Então, minha pesquisa em solo. A minha pesquisa em solo, ela propõe trabalhar o solo. Estes alunos pegaram o lixo da escola, o lixo próximo da escola, e trabalharam o solo da escola, que estava muito compacto e não era produtivo.
Okay, so he researches about soil and the education, and so the student is think about all the garbage they had around their school, and they also like food waste from their school. They did a soil correction to have the soil ready to plant.
E é muito fácil. Eu vou propor para vocês agora. Vocês vão
Yeah, he's
pegar.
going to show you how, like with like food scrap, as organic matter, how they had the productive soil to plant, and they have their community garden. And as I mentioned, we do not have a lot of resources in Brazil, so the science teacher, I mean the teachers gotta be very creative, and you can see your mom is very creative.
E será o que é descartado até aqui nos Estados Unidos, a borra de café,
This is ground coffee.
adubo orgânico feito com cascas de frutas e legumes,
And this is homemade fertilizers that we make like with fruit peels and
e
food
folhas
scraps.
secas e serragem.
And the sawdust.
E as 3 porções do solo
And here
descompactado.
we have soil, like the soil is not ready to plant.
E é muito simples. Vocês vão misturar 3 porções por uma de cada. Aqui.
So he wants somebody to volunteer to mix like all these cups together to have the soil correction. Who could help us?
You can't unless you do.
Go, go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah.
So we're just dumping all of these in here.
Isso.
We have a little composter outside the door here. You can grab more.
Oh, that's good. Eles têm uma composteira aqui.
Stir it.
Aqui, essas de solo. Agora o solo.
Okay.
Isso. Agora, deixa um pouquinho aqui assim. Queria que ela simbolizasse, colocando as plantinhas para simbolizar.
So it symbolizes like a bed in a community garden. That's how he taught the students, and we have some pictures to show you. And he asked if you can grab like some of these labels to symbolize the garden.
Just paint it.
Yeah, planting with that.
Very good.
So you can see in this picture the students doing this work at the school, and this is their composting bin that they use.
Okay. I'll have to show you mine.
I want
Before
to
you
see
leave.
that, yes. And here, like exactly what you did there. So that's like what he mixed, and then he corrected the soil. They did the soil correction with the students. So now we're gonna do another activity. So like with photo voice and to show how it relates, I think you go to it. But just to emphasize it, the students, like if it's just for grades to be there, like what's the reason, how to get the students motivated? And we know we have the same challenge in the US. But then when they get empowered and they learn, well, I can make a difference. So now having the 15 students, they're like volunteers who teach other students about the other like 2,500 students about the community garden, have like all this community engaged and have the garden for the school. So yeah, now let's do
As fotos estão aqui.
the pictures. So as we mentioned, there are so many emotions in this project. I want you to look at the pictures and then try like to put them in 3 different piles, and then think about what emotions you think that you symbolize. So each one of you can get like a picture that pass over, and the picture is like putting bananas with bananas, apples with apples. How you think that would be?
Look at
Isso eu queria falar que eles se levam com
So 3 categories.
Yes.
A primeira ordem que vocês alguns dias,
This could be the problem with all the negative stuff. And that's all the trash.
So negative.
Yeah.
Yes, you can join us though if you'd like to.
I have pictures of a bunch of hopeful things.
Well, okay, then this is the doing, and then this could be the positive outcome or something like
Okay.
that.
So
Yeah.
action.
Yeah, action, sure.
Yeah, most of mine are actions. They're planting. This one's picking up some trash, I think. Same.
Yeah, this is the smiling outcome.
This is journaling. So action.
Yeah. This is a one-step street. Yeah.
Yeah, so we did have so as I mentioned for my thesis, I researched the emotions the students had from these activities, from photo voicing. And then they were very angry at first. And that was very interesting to see that. But that was the energy that they got to find the solutions to act, how they could do something different and have outcomes in their community. So first, there was, so actually Paulo Freire talks about that, but there was no empirical study showing all these emotions, and that was so cool for me to see. I did not expect that result for students to be angry and sad at the same time, because angry is underneath this sadness, and then to see the student is being happy. Why like that change for like angry to sadness to be happy? Because they found a solution how they could get connected to the environment in the place where they live. And I know we're almost out of time, but we have a video that Irmão made that's about 5 minutes. Can we play it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
There's 15 minutes between sessions, so it should be good.
Yeah.
Am I wrong for thinking out the box from where I stay? Am I wrong for saying that I choose another way? I ain't trying to do what everybody else doing, just 'cause everybody doing what they all do. If one thing I know, I fall but I grow. I'm walking down this road of mine, this road that I go home. So am I wrong for thinking that we could be something for real? Now am I wrong for trying to reach the things that I can't see? That's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. Trying to reach the things that I can't see. Am I tripping?
Obrigada pela sua presença. Somos alunos do 8º ano da Escola Estadual Francisco de Paula Conceição Júnior, localizada em São Paulo, Brasil. Fazemos parte dos programas Plantio Monitorado e Indicadores de Saúde Ambiental, do Brasil e dos Estados Unidos.
Sejam bem-vindos à nossa apresentação.
Hello everybody, thank you for coming today.
You are 8th grade student from the State School Francisco de Paula Júnior in São Paulo, Brasil.
We are part of the Monitored Planting and Environmental Health Investigators projects.
Welcome to our presentation.
What can you do? When you see litter in the streets and the air smells of pollution, when you feel like it is all piling up, remember there is a solution. There is something each of us can do to keep the river clean, to keep fresh the air we breathe, and to keep the forest clean. Help can the neighborhood and recycle bottles and cans, learn about problems we face, and help others understand. It does not have to be a lot if each of us do our
Tell me I'm wrong, I don't wanna be right. Am I wrong for thinking that we could be something for real? Now am I wrong for trying to reach the things that I can't see? But that's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. Trying to reach the things that I can't see. So am I wrong for thinking that we could be something for real? Oh. Now am I wrong for trying to reach the things that I can't see? But that's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. Trying to reach the things that I can't see.
Tira. Segura aqui, segura. Cadê a Eeai?
Okay, peoples, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, Nathan, how was the experience with the partnerships?
We have learned a lot of new things. It was life-changing. Just fantastic.
Okay, very good.
So, thank you very much, Valesca. Bye!
Salve, povo!
Thank you very much. I just like to say something that your mom asked me to say before. That the students took like 3 weeks in a project that was about to be like 6 months to build the garden, because they go to like so engaged and they want to do that. And thank you very much for your time and for being here with us today. And if you have any questions, you can skip now or you can send us emails too. I left your email information here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the long travel.
Yeah, we appreciate it.